Hey, what's going on, y'all? So, I've been a Sonic fan for about 23 years now. I've experienced this series' high points, but I've also experienced this series' low points. In this video, I just want to do a personal story as to why Sonic Frontiers has restored my faith within Sega as a company. So let's get into it. Around 2017, when Sonic Forces came out, this is when I got back into the franchise when I recently played Sonic Generations that year. After Sonic Generations, I played Sonic Mania. Sonic Mania was an amazing game. I'm so glad I played that. Then we get to Sonic Forces. Sonic Forces, to be blunt, was a very disappointing game to me. If you liked it, that's great. But to me, I think this was the lowest point of the franchise. Sonic 06 was bad, but Sonic 06 was bad because Sega tried to overachieve with that game. But with Forces, they underachieved. There's something about that lack of care or that lack of effort put into a video game that burns more bridges than if a game was trying to do more than what it can handle. So when Sonic Forces came out, I didn't like the game. In fact, I hated it at one point. So with Forces being a stinker for me from 2018 through early to mid 2022, being a Sonic fan at that time was one of the hardest times to be a Sonic fan. There was a drought in games. The only Sonic game that came out was I think a Mario and a Sonic Olympic game came out during that time period. I think the Tokyo Olympic Games. And then you had Team Sonic Racing, which was just a failed Sonic kart racer coming off of Transformed. But yeah, there was nothing happening with Sonic aside from the great movies that came out at the time. So then I think around 2021, late 2021 or something like that, the reveal trailer for Sonic Frontiers came out. Now, when this reveal trailer came out, I was still burned off of Forces. I had no excitement for this new Sonic game because remember, I'm a 23-year-old Sonic fan. I've been a part of this franchise for 23 years. I'm almost 27 now, and I've dealt with a lot of Sega's bullshit. So coming into Frontiers, I was thinking like, okay, this has to be a banger. If it's not a banger, then this series might be done, at least for the games. So when the reveal trailer came out, I remember being skeptical, but I kind of found the concept really interesting for what it showed. But I was still very skeptical because there was no gameplay, so I just held off on giving an opinion at the time. But when the IGN trailer came out the following year, that's when Twitter blew up, and that's when my perspective of this franchise changed. And honestly, just to cut it short, that was terrible. That was probably one of the worst first impressions I've seen of a video game in a long time. The state that the game was shown in and how it was being played during its initial reveal, it was so bad. The pop-in, the empty, vast world that Sonic team was trying to convey, it felt like there was nothing happening. Sonic was just walking around a tech demo. That's literally what everyone was saying, and that's how I felt too. If I was skeptical of this game earlier, at that point, I was just outright disappointed again. I felt like, okay, they're really not gonna nail this one, because how the hell can you just have Sonic walking around a empty open world? I've played a lot of open world games throughout my life, so I at least know a thing or two about what you can include into an open world or open zone that Sonic Team and Sega were trying to call it. But there's no way that was going to be the final release, right? There was no way. If it was, this game is going to flop before it even drops. If that's the case, then this franchise might as well be done making video games. But I held off at that point, trying to keep my composure, trying to understand that, okay, I just have to figure out what they're trying to do. What is Sega trying to do with this game? So the game rolls out. The release day for Sonic Frontiers came about, and the game was officially released to the public. My opinion of this game when I played it day one was a very wild roller coaster. This was the first Sonic game that I bought and refunded in the same day because the game was too janky. The pop-in, the weird physics that couldn't make me feel immersed in the world, and all of this stuff that was happening made me tune out of the game emotionally, and it took me out of the story. Whatever story that Sonic Frontiers was trying to tell me when I first played it, I wasn't invested because the gameplay was just way too janky. So I refunded the game and got my $40 back. But then I sat down for a few days and I thought about it, and I seen a couple other people play it. And I think what got me back to purchasing the game again the same week, I saw the first boss fight with Giganto, and I said, oh, wait a minute. I didn't see too much of it. I didn't want to spoil myself, but I was like, wait, hold on. You could be Supersonic in the first boss fight? Okay, let me reinstall the game back. That's what got me back into the game. But I bought the game again, tried to get through that muddy first impression and really try to figure out what this game is trying to tell me. The problem I have with Frontiers and the way that I approached it was I approached Sonic Frontiers as if it was Sega's last game. Because to me, it definitely would have been the last Sonic game that I played if it was bad. That's why I had such strong opinions about it and why I was so indifferent on the game when I first played it. I felt like I had to like the game because if I didn't, Sonic Team would stop making Sonic games. Hell, I think I saw in an article that they literally would have given up on Sonic if that game would have flopped. So I'm like, okay, well, they can't give up on the Blue Blur. I love this character, so I have to like Frontiers, even if Forces burned the shit out of me. In doing so, I robbed myself of experiencing what the game had to offer. Because when I first played it, I beat the game, but I didn't like it, nor did I hate it. I don't even think I found it mid. I just think that the game was just okay. The gameplay was still janky as hell. The story was decent to me at the time when I first played it, but I feel like there wasn't really much emotional payoff with too many things because I don't think I was that invested into the story. So then when I was wrapping up with the game and I got to the final island, I was just like, this is just not that good of a game. I felt weird to say that because a part of me liked it too. So I'm like, okay, what is it with me? Do I like the game? Do I hate it? I can't tell. But when I got to the ending of the game and Sonic is going through the final battle with the end and Sage is there fighting with him and Sage sacrifices herself, as that ending finished and as the end credits roll and the song Dear Father played in my ear, for some odd reason, even though I knew what was going on, at the same time I wasn't that invested into the story, I for some reason started crying. I don't know why. I don't know if it was the song, I don't know if it was the experience kind of coming at me at once, but I think it was both. Why the hell was I not invested in the story this entire time, yet when I got to the end of the game, I started crying? So when I finished Sonic Frontiers, I just deleted it and kind of just removed the game off my Steam library. I just ignored it and I said, okay, that was a decent experience, but okay, whatever, we'll see what happens next. But as the game kept getting more DLCs and more better communication started happening with the development team and the fans, and they started adding characters, quality of life changes, a couple different moves, a couple new move sets, or not new move sets, but a couple of move sets that Sonic needed to traverse through the world in a better fashion. I then, in 2025, reinstalled Sonic Frontiers and gave it another chance now that Sonic's in a better place. Shadow Generations came out, Sonic the Hedgehog movie 3 came out. So I'm like, okay, cool. I'm calm now. Sonic's in a way better place. So now let's go back and try Frontiers in a more neutral state, not worrying about the franchise's future, not worrying about if this is going to be Sonic Team's last Sonic game. No, we're good now. Let's go back in and see what we can get out of this game. So as I play Sonic Frontiers again and play through the game, play through all the DLCs, played as Amy, Tails, and Knuckles, I realized that this game was really good underneath the surface. Underneath all that jank, there was heart. There was passion, there was care put into the world, and there was care put into the characters and the story, trying to get Sonic back on track to being a franchise that can be taken seriously. The story in this game isn't dark or moody or broody like the adventure games, which I still like. It's more, there's a lot more emotional intelligence being displayed within this story, whether it's from the characters, whether it's from the actual world, whether it's from Eggman or Sage, or the lore and how the Titans exist and the chaos species that existed on those islands. There's a lot of emotional intelligence being displayed within this game that I actually like, and I think this is the direction that Sonic should go in my opinion. I think the Sonic characters are probably one of my favorite cast of characters in a video game series because they're really down to earth. Even though they're anthropomorphic animals, they're down to earth, and I see why me and plenty of other people have such a strong emotional connection to these characters. So as I'm playing Sonic Frontiers and I'm seeing Sonic interact with Amy, Knuckles, Tails, and even Eggman to a certain extent, there's this display of love being put onto the characters, and to me as the player, that makes me see Sonic Team is finally treating them with respect. And thanks to Ian Flynn giving his hand to the writing, now the characters just feel like they exist in their own world. The setting that the game takes place in, even though it's separate from where we're used to, I really like how it's told and I really like how it looks. Playing Sonic Frontiers just feels so peaceful. It feels so peaceful and calming, almost like this weird lo-fi experience, going through the hub worlds and just traversing and just minding my own business while I'm probably doing something like watching a YouTube video or playing some music. I can just go around the world now, and even though there's a little bit of jank, I feel like I can just engage with the game and just see it for what it is. And for what it is that it's a Sonic game that I think is taking its stride and going in the best possible direction that Sonic can go in. I don't think there was any other direction Sega could take Sonic besides this direction. Sonic Frontiers has become a game that I was skeptical about, a game that I was disappointed in before it even released, to a game that I felt super indifferent by, to being one of my top 5 favorite Sonic games to ever release. It's a really wild roller coaster. Like, I never thought I would sit here and think that Sonic Frontiers was a top 5 game. That's why I wanted to do a personal reflection of this game, because this was the first Sonic game I felt so strongly about since Unleashed. Because Sonic Unleashed was obviously pretty good to me, but as this game was rolling out, and now that we're in 2025 and they're probably working on the next Sonic game, I'm sitting here looking at Frontiers like, I should have gave this game a fair chance. It's janky as hell. The story is not told in the best way possible, but the heart and passion is there. That's all I care about for this series. If you show me heart and passion, you can work out the kinks on the next installment. If you show me that you genuinely care about these characters and you want to show some labor of love and build some continuity into this series, then you got your hands on a pretty decent Sonic game, and in turn, you can make the next one better. There's a blueprint now. There hasn't been a consistent blueprint in years. Sonic Frontiers has been a roller coaster of a game, and I think now Sonic Team and Sega are going in a direction that I'm confident in. The game has a strong foundation for something greater, and the characters are now way more fleshed out than before, so now you can take these characters into a deeper story. Whether it's Frontiers 2 or a separate world from what Frontiers established, for the first time in years, I am now confident in Sega. And that's in hindsight of everything that we've just experienced with Shadow Generations and the Sonic Movie 3. Now I'm able to look at Frontiers as, okay, I see what they were trying to do now, and I like the direction. Being a Sonic fan has a lot of ups and downs. There's times where I feel like this franchise is one of the best to ever be released. And then there's other times where I think that this franchise is just the bane of my existence and I want it to die. This is the only franchise that does this to me, and I don't know why Sega does it to all of us, but when Sonic hits, it really hits, and I really think that Sonic Frontiers is a step in the right direction, and I am glad that I gave the game a second chance, because now it's probably my top 5 favorite Sonic game in the series. Good job, Sega. Thank you so much for watching this video. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll drop a link down to my previous Sonic video to check that out. And this is Breck, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace out.